So Mr. and Mrs. Jones, we're obviously looking at the exterior of this window. Again, what you'll see is that beautiful beveled edge. That gives it the traditional colonial look that most people are looking for in New England. What it's not going to do, it's not going to have those flat 90-degree corners like most of your cheaper vinyl windows have. It's not going to have an industrial look. It definitely fits with your more traditional homes. All your corners are fusion welded. Those corners are heated up at well over 400 degrees, melted together, very solid bond. What there's not, you don't have any screws or glues trying to hold things together. It's all done at the factory. It's done right down to 1/8 of an inch, and it ensures square because we're welding all 4 corners at the same time. The other thing that you might not notice right off the bat, whether it's an external or an internal grid, it has that shadow line. It's a 3D grid. Again, your cheaper windows, they're just square or rectangle tubing. It doesn't have a lot of dimension. It kind of takes away from the aesthetic value of a home. So this is going to have that nice shadow line, again, whether it's in between or exterior. I think we mentioned earlier we're going to do interior. Makes it a lot easier to clean. Instead of cleaning one little square at each time, it's just one big quick swipe. All your windows are going to have a half screen, like I mentioned. This is actually a fiberglass mesh. They call it an invisible screen, even though we can both see it. Being fiberglass, what that does for you is it actually traps about 25% of your pollen and dust, keeps that from coming into your home, especially in the springtime with all the pollen in the air. There's no fingernail breakers or knuckle busters. Just put it wherever you want. It's not going to come slamming down on your kid's finger or your cat's tail. And if you do want to remove it, it's relatively easy. Just lift it up, push it this way, and pop this side out. Who's the football player here? You, Mr. Jones? Here, quick. Screen pass. Very simple. It's actually an aluminum frame that's powder coated, so it has a very durable finish. And you'll notice that it actually has stainless steel leaf springs that give it its tension. And that way it's not sliding down and it's not going to rust or oxidize. What you're also going to notice is a 5-degree pitch for all your snow and rain to roll away. We live in New England. We definitely don't want anything sitting on that sill. Unfortunately, some of your cheaper vinyl windows have that one little rail going across, trying to make things a little bit more rigid. They'll have a little weep hole to let the water out, but bugs, leaves, whatever it might be, clog it. It can be a mess. You start trapping water in there. All right. Any questions on the outside? Excellent. Let me turn this around for you, show you the interior. So this is the interior of the window. This is one of the wood grain laminates. I think you were talking about doing this over your kitchen sink. It's a wood grain laminate that's literally baked onto the plastic. It comes with a 10-year manufacturer's warranty. When you do a wood grain window, it's going to have a complementary color. Where on a white window, all your handles, tabs, locks, everything's going to be white on white. So for the majority of your windows, white handles, white locks, white grids, white tilt pins, everything. All right. When you take a look at this window, you're going to have typically one handle going across, but on some of your wider windows, you're going to have 2 locks for added security. They're a very traditional lock. It's all made out of steel, and it's, again, powder coated. So all your hardware here is a steel hardware. Obviously for strength, for durability, if we're going to put a 50-year warranty on it, we don't want plastic and things that are going to pull apart. We continued the traditional look, again, fusion welding the corners. What you don't want to see is that overlap joint. Again, it looks very industrial. We rounded off the edges and continued with that 3-dimensional look on the grid. Again, trying to keep that traditional look of the window. When you open and close the window, just make sure you unlock it first, lift it up, put it wherever you want. You can actually hear the weather stripping as you open and close this window. It's extremely tight. This window actually has 18 pieces of weather stripping throughout, and that's one of the reasons why we get the lowest rating possible for air infiltration. Have you ever lived with a tilt-in window, Mr. Jones?
Yep. Okay.
This one's a little bit different. All right. Very simple. All you want to do is lift it up about a few fingers, grab your 2 tabs, squeeze together, tilt in. Easy. All right. Here you can see all that weather stripping, 1, 2, 3 sheets going all the way around. This is a synthetic wool pile. It's not felt. Felt, being an organic product, can get mold or mildew, gets matted down after a while. Being a synthetic wool, it's never getting any mold or mildew. And very simple, it also has a little piece of plastic right down the center. You can hear it flicking. All right. That's going to ensure that there's no drafts, again, no bugs or anything of that nature. All right. Top sash, same thing. You want to bring it down first before you tilt it in. Find those same 2 little buttons, squeeze together, tilt in. Now you don't have to baby this window, as you can tell. All right? I do this twice a day, 6 days a week. I beat the snot out of this window just to show its durability. It takes more abuse in 1 week with me than it ever will with you in a year. Again, you can see and hear all the weather stripping. It's also up inside the frame as well. This is called the U-pocket. When you open or close this window, what you might not notice is the window doesn't stop right there like a lot of windows do. Some windows actually stop in an L frame. Ours is a U-shaped. which means wind and water would literally have to come over, go up, go over, come down, and come in, and get past all your weather stripping. The synthetic wool pile, the marine grade rubber. When you shut that window, it's extremely tight, no drafts, nothing of that nature. When you take a look at the lock here, again, you'll notice it's steel front and back, it's recessed in and it's screwed into the frame. If you think about a lot of your vinyl windows, when they screw anything into that vinyl, how much does that vinyl really have to grab onto? That vinyl is very, very thin. That screw's only going to have a few threads and that's about it. Not very strong, not very secure. With ours, when you screw that into the Saluka, it's actually got a much better pull strength than even wood. So it's extremely strong, extremely secure. We also have an interlocking meeting rail, this lip right here. This lip right here, when they come together like a wrestler's grip. Again, wind and water won't want to make that S-turn, and for security, it's extremely strong. I'll show you something, Mr. Jones. When you take a look, unfortunately for most windows, this is where most windows are going to have the most amount of drafts. It's where air comes in the most. With ours, as you can see, I can basically lift this window off the ground with that piece of paper. That's how tight it is. When you take a look, you can see why. It bent it over into that S shape. Great interlock as well as for security. So if somebody tries to break into this window, one, they might try to go through the glass. This is optically clear float glass. It's extremely hard to break, as well as if they tried to get into it with a screwdriver or a putty knife, it's never going to make it through that S-turn. Let me go back to the float glass for a second. Most glass is cooled on a bed of sand. Unfortunately, no matter how fine that sand is, it's granular. So it gives the glass a little bit of imperfections, little nooks and crannies underneath the microscope. If you've ever noticed glass break, it kind of zigzags. It's because it's going from one imperfection to the next. With ours, even though this is a triple pane, you're really not going to notice it because it's float glass. Float glass is actually cooled on a bed of liquid tin, and that's extremely smooth. So even if you look at this glass underneath the microscope, it's almost a mirror finish, no imperfections. What that does for you, you could put 2, 3, 10 sheets of glass together, and it would look like you're looking through one. Makes it a lot easier to clean because there's no nooks and crannies for the dirt to get into. You don't even need Windex with this window. Windex is just a chemical that breaks up dirt and pulls it to the surface. With this one wet paper towel, one dry, you can clean your windows extremely quickly. It also means that they're extremely hard to break. As you can tell, extremely strong. That's why we can warranty this glass for 50 years, even against breakage. All right. When you take a look, I mentioned this is the triple pane. You'll notice the NFRC sticker here. Again, we mentioned the 0.16 U factor being the lowest in the industry. And again, it's because of the triple pane, the krypton gas, the 2 coats of low E. You can see there is that little bit of a tint behind that window. Any questions on the window itself, folks? Excellent. Thanks so much for your time.